I'm glad to be here this afternoon to join you at this very, very important occasion where we are unveiling our e-commerce strategy, because this is actually an enabler to what us as government have in our Kenya Kwanza bottom-up economic transformation agenda. So the Cabinet Secretary for Ministry of Trade, my sister, Honorable Rebecca Miano, the UNCTAD Director for Technological and Logistics Division, the Deputy Ambassador to the Federal Republic of Germany, our two principal secretaries, Alfred and Engineer Tanui. All protocols observed. Good afternoon. I'm greatly pleased to witness the unveiling of the National E-commerce Strategy today, and which marks the culmination of multi-sectoral efforts that collectively position Kenya for exponential growth in e-commerce. The growing digital economy, championed by our two ministries, presents all other sectors in our society with immense possibilities. With each passing year, new technologies and services emerge on the horizon. And as digital technologies become the cornerstone of our daily activities, governments, businesses, and individuals must adapt to this new reality. In fact, even by the mere launch of this e-commerce strategy, we are basically just responding to changes in our operational environment. That in today's world of digital economy, we need to facilitate or to leverage on technology to facilitate business transactions. And more often than not, it's no longer the case, it's no longer imperative that we must have physical interface between the buyer and seller of any commodity across the borders and across the globe. So this really is the rationale and essence of launching the e-commerce strategy. The strategy will provide a strategic vision enabling Kenya to identify economic opportunities supportive of its strategic development goals, including those outlined in our Vision 2030, and of course, by extension, the fourth medium-term plan, the bottom-up economic transformation agenda, our digital economy blueprint, and a national ICT policy, and all other attendant policies and regulations. It is worth noting that the e-commerce strategy seeks to leverage Kenya's strengths in that frontier while addressing the bottlenecks and challenges hindering e-commerce in this country. If well harnessed, e-commerce will greatly accelerate economic and social development through economic diversification, job creation, and increased trade. As you may be aware, Kenya as a country is on a digital transformation journey to maximize opportunities for sustainable economic development. Technology has been at the epicenter of this transformation, explaining why we boast globally acclaimed digital solutions that have enhanced financial inclusion, such as M-Pesa. In fact, just for purposes of clarity, let me espouse that we are not launching this e-commerce strategy in a vacuum. We already have a solid digital foundation on the basis of which the e-commerce strategy will be anchored and facilitated. For starters, we are rolling out 100,000 kilometers of fiber optic cable to facilitate access to reliable and stable internet connectivity all over the country. We are establishing and operationalizing a total of 25,000 Wi-Fi hotspots spread evenly all over the country. That again is a facilitator. By way of ensuring that we have got commensurate level of digital skills, we have also rolled out an ambitious program, digital skilling program, that will be facilitated by the establishment of a total of 1,450 digital hubs all over the country. We have gone a step further and ensured that we are no longer going to operate on manual processes in government. Based on a partnership between our ministry and the Ministry of Interior, we have managed to digitalize a total of 13,482 government services against a background of a meager 350 services that were online on the eCitizen platform about 1 year ago. So the requisite infrastructure, technological infrastructure, to facilitate or to help us operationalize the e-commerce strategy is already in place. We have made considerable strides in facilitating the growth of e-commerce in this country, in line with the mandate of both my ministry and that of trade, of course. This includes fostering the confidence of consumers in digital platforms as avenues for doing business. E-commerce, ladies and gentlemen, as it stands now, would not be where it is without the stable ICT environment we have fostered, where multiple data carriers offer services at competitive rates, leading to widespread access to the internet. We have also rolled out an electronic system that facilitates the creation, storage, and assignment of digital certificates to individuals, firms, and state agencies. This initiative by the government will facilitate online identity and verification system, popularly known as the National Public Key Infrastructure. And it will facilitate or permit each citizen or organization to be issued with a unique online identity or digital certificate, for that matter, required whenever they partake in online transactions. With the full commercialization of the national public key infrastructure, we envisage that the electronic system will create a framework for protecting communications and stored information from unauthorized access and disclosure by addressing the fundamentals of cyber security, confidentiality, integrity, and of course, authentication. But in the converse of it, while we have made great strides, there is still room for improvement in terms of e-commerce readiness. We therefore need to ask the right questions about what we can do to ensure we reap the full benefits that e-commerce holds. The government, through the ICT sector regulator, the Communications Authority of Kenya, has put in place protective mechanisms for the courier industry responsible for the delivery of items purchased online. The e-commerce guidelines for courier operators seeks to ensure the highest levels of professionalism when conveying customer items. And these guidelines obligate courier operators to implement process and procedures for adequate security of consumer packages, as well as the implementation of track and trace services for couriered items. We have also coordinated efforts, ladies and gentlemen, towards the establishment of a national addressing system for the country. A well-designed national addressing system will provide us with a robust mapping of properties and places to facilitate e-commerce. We already have a policy and bill in place. We are progressing to take it to Cabinet, and subsequent to approval by Cabinet, we will push it to Parliament for purposes of enactment into law. And in that regard, then, we would confidently state, without fear of contradiction, that we have got a sound policy, legal, and regulatory framework on the basis of which our e-commerce strategy can be anchored. Through other mechanisms, such as the Universal Service Fund, we have also rolled out other initiatives that will greatly enhance access to communication services, including mobile and broadband connectivity. We are also in the process of fast-tracking and maintaining the national fiber optic cable and alternative solutions to expand even more in rural and peri-urban areas, and had espoused quite a bit on our digital infrastructure initiatives. These initiatives, ladies and gentlemen, as I had enumerated earlier, will fundamentally impact the literacy levels in the country and further open new frontiers of opportunities on digital platforms, including e-commerce, to a greater proportion of the population. The e-commerce now presents manifold opportunities for driving the digital economy in Kenya. And with a substantial portion of the population yet to access broadband services, it means that the room for innovative digital solutions and services, including but not limited to e-commerce, is in the horizon. As I conclude, may I emphasize that this national e-commerce strategy is a significant leap towards addressing the bottlenecks stifling e-commerce in the country. My ministry remains committed to constantly engaging diverse stakeholders to support relevant policy reforms. And in this regard, I want to really commend UNCTAD, who have been supportive of this initiative. I also want to commend GIZ, who have worked with us closely in this process with the two PSS. So we'll continue working with you, depending on unfolding events from time to time, just to ensure that based on emerging issues in the operational environment, we facilitate relevant policy reforms, develop the requisite infrastructure, and other initiatives that can help enhance the ICT footprint by engendering progressive conversations as we have here today. Let me conclude by saying that what we have done is the simple part. We have the strategy. Strategy formulation is just the basic component of any strategy. We now need to move to strategy implementation. But as we implement, we must also have a robust monitoring, evaluation, and reporting framework to facilitate successful implementation of the strategy. As a ministry, we look forward to working with all the relevant stakeholders. We remain ready and available for that cooperation. Thank you very much, and have a good afternoon.
Very much, my cabinet colleague and all the distinguished participants, good afternoon. I want to start by saying that CS Owalo and I were in a cabinet meeting this morning, and we therefore beg your pardon for coming in late for this meeting. I'm honored really to witness this momentous occasion of the official launch of the Kenya National E-Commerce Strategy. Today, we take a vital step as a nation towards harnessing the power of the digital economy and positioning Kenya as a key player in the global e-commerce ecosystem. Allow me to unreservedly congratulate various sectors, industries, and stakeholders who have contributed in the formulation and realization of our national e-commerce strategy. Among them are the United Nations Conference on Trade and Development. We have GIZ. In the same breath, I extend my sincere appreciation to government ministries, departments, and agencies, the private sector, and small and medium enterprises, all of who were involved in the successful development of this piece of cutting-edge technology. Our world is evolving rapidly, with technology redefining borders of jurisdiction in favor of digital options for commerce and trade. The Kenya National E-Commerce Strategy is a visionary response to the opportunities and challenges presented by the digital age. The strategy lays the foundation of a dynamic, inclusive, and sustainable digital economy that empowers businesses and individuals alike. It is indeed a testament to our dedication to foster an environment that enables businesses to thrive. It encourages innovation whilst ensuring that no one is left behind in the digital revolution. The development of the e-commerce strategies, ladies and gentlemen, comes at an opportune moment with our government, when our government, through the bottom-up economic transformation agenda, intends to promote the digitalization of its services to make them more accessible to the public, as well as support the growth of enterprises within this sector through enforcement and implementation of various laws, regulations, policies, and strategies. And my colleague C.S. Owalo has talked about that in detail. It is expected that the implementation of the strategy will lead to creation of an enabling environment for the development in Kenya of trusted e-commerce services accessible to and used by all. The strategy is envisioned to enhance provision of timely and accessible information through e-commerce to spur both domestic and international trade through enhanced product range, standards, and ability of Kenyan producers to respond to export market requirements. This will, in turn, help to address the country's persistent global trade balance deficit, which we all know. The strategy will also assist not only in strengthening the existing e-commerce initiatives established by our government to create job opportunities, but will also facilitate the actualization of national and regional policies, as well as implementation of strategies upon which e-commerce initiatives in the country are embedded, including the bottom-up economic transformation agenda. So, distinguished guests, a strong institutional framework is outlined in the strategy to ensure its full implementation and achievement of its intended results. The cross-cutting nature of the strategy requires that many different parties from the public sector as well as the private sector will be involved in its implementation. These parties include government ministries, departments and agencies, county governments, and representatives of commerce industry and consumers. And these initiatives will be led by the Ministry of Investments, Trade and Industry, and will, in liaison with the Ministry of Information, Communications, and Digital Economy, ensure that this strategy is implemented with the seriousness it deserves. I call upon all stakeholders to pull in one direction by playing their roles as outlined in the implementation plan of the strategy, so as to ensure its seamless implementation for the benefit of all in the e-commerce sector. As we unveil this strategy today, let us reaffirm our commitment to its effective implementation to unleash the full potential of our digital economy and ensure that every Kenyan can participate and benefit from the opportunities that e-commerce presents. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to once again thank our development partners for their unwavering support towards the development and actualization of the Kenya e-commerce strategy, and also to express my sincere gratitude to everyone who played a role in the development of this strategy. I look forward to our future collaboration with all the stakeholders in the sector as we endeavor to promote the growth and development of the e-commerce sector in Kenya. As I wind up, I agree with Jack Ma's view. And like him, and I quote, "My vision is to build an e-commerce ecosystem that allows consumers and businesses to do all aspects of business online. But I also have another quote that I got yesterday from the speech that was made by His Excellency at Jamhuri Day. And he was talking about the progress that Kenya has made in various fields. But then he said, and I quote, "We have not made as much progress with our economy. Our generation has unfinished business of actualizing economic prosperity." This evening, the people in the room and those who have worked on this strategy are fulfilling that dream and their part of actualizing economic prosperity for our country. I thank you.
My name is Shamika Siriman. I'm the Director of Technology and Logistics of UNCTAD. And UNCTAD is the UN organization that works on trade and development.
So what kind of collaborative efforts have gone through the coming up with this e-commerce strategy?
I think Kenya's e-commerce strategy is a good practice for the rest of the world because it's developed in a very broad partnership across all ministries who are in the digital space and with the private sector and also with development partners. So it's not a strategy that was done in a room by somebody typing on a computer. It was a huge consultation. Effort went into the strategy. So that's why we are convinced that this strategy will have legs.
And you spoke something about the already existing policies and regulations that will help push this forward. Perhaps you can mention a bit more about that?
Another success factor for the Kenya's e-commerce strategy is it's very much anchored in the larger development aspirations of Kenya. I'm talking about the 2030 vision, digital economy blueprint, and also the bottom-up agenda for Kenya. No, I didn't say that. Okay, one of the success factors that's going to be for the e-commerce strategy of Kenya is that it is very much anchored in larger development agenda or the aspirations of Kenya. I'm talking about the 2030 vision, I'm talking about the digital economy, blueprint, and also the bottom-up economic agenda. So I believe the stars are lined up well for the e-commerce strategy to be implemented, and implemented fast, and implemented with all partners.
So what is maybe a final word to stakeholders watching right now and in the e-commerce ecosystem? What can they look forward to?
I think that because the e-commerce cuts across many sectors, it's not the job of the trade ministry, it's not just the job of the ICT ministry or the industry ministry or just the private sector, the central bank, and everyone has to come together. So my plea to all partners in the government as well as the private sector is to work together. Because this is a technological revolution that moves very fast. And the windows of opportunities open up for a very short period of time. And it's my wish that the Kenya will grab this window of opportunity and make sure that the digital technologies are going to work for all and not just for a few.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.